and welcome to Cupcake Addiction's Zombie Hello Kitty Cakepop tutorial, where I'll be showing you how to make this really cool little zombified Hello Kitty cake pop. You might have seen the other Hello Kitty cupcakes and cake pops that I've got on my channel, MyCupcakeAddiction. This one here is a little bit of a spookier version, perfect for Halloween. So tools and equipment that we will be using today, I'm resting my Hello Kitty today just in a polystyrene block. I've got 2 Ziploc bags, a couple of Lollypop sticks and a pair of scissors. I've got my cake pop ball. Now I've got that pre-prepared. If you don't have a great recipe for getting your cake pops to this stage ready to dip and decorate, I will leave a link to the Cupcake Addiction recipe in the description box below. I'm going to be showing you how to achieve that head shape today, and I've also got one here that's pre-prepared just to make things a little bit quicker for this tutorial. I will also mention that is a fraction smaller. That's about a quarter smaller than I would usually roll my cake pop balls. I've got some melted, kind of a greenish coloured chocolate. So this is mainly white chocolate, and I added, I think 3 or 4 just Wilton green candy melts to just regular white chocolate. You can also use just a little bit of green colour paste or green powdered colour, never liquid to chocolate, just to achieve that really nice kind of light greenish colour, but there's no exact colour that really matters, greyish, greenish, so long as it looks a little bit zombified. I've got a little bit of black colour paste. I've got some melted red candy melts and melted black candy melts. If you don't have access to candy melts where you are, you can also use cookie icing. I've got 1 yellow mini M&M, and I've actually cut mine in half. I've got 2 little red heart sprinkles. You don't need the red heart sprinkles. I've used them just to make the little bow a little bit more kind of bow-like, but you can also just use that red candy melt and just kind of draw on a little bit of a bow. I've got a tissue, just a regular tissue, a Q-tip, and I've got 2 spoons. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make our Hello Kitty head shape. Now this ball is about a quarter smaller than I would usually roll my ball, so it's just a little bit smaller. And I want to just, obviously it's in a ball shape, you just want to take your hands and just flatten it down just a little bit. Now, once it's flattened, use your fingers just to elongate it out to a little bit more of an oval. And then without pinching inwards, you want Hello Kitty's ears to sort of stay up on the side of her head. Just kind of pinch up a bit of an ear shape. Now I usually just use my fingers just to sort of stretch her out and round it off so that you've got your basic Hello Kitty shape. Now you want to pop that one into the refrigerator for about 15 minutes until it's really nice and firm. Don't freeze it and don't let it set rock hard. You just want it to be nice and firm so that when you touch it, it doesn't push out of shape. So as I mentioned, I've got my one here that's pre-prepared and ready to go. Now what we're going to do is Hello Kitty's head is going to go in on an angle, and we want the lollipop stick to poke all the way through so that it kind of looks like her head's been impaled on the lollipop stick. So you want to dip your lollipop stick just a little bit into that green chocolate. So you've got a nice little coating on the end, and choosing your best side, start down sort of on the bottom, and you want to bring your stick up on an angle so that it comes out just above her ear. So as I push that in, I'm going to twist my stick and I'm holding that cake pop. So I'm twisting, and you should see it poke out the end. Beautiful. Let that go quite a little bit past her ear there. Once we dip that in chocolate, it's actually going to look like it's not coming out quite as much. So make sure that you do let it protrude quite a bit past Hello Kitty's little head. Now we're going to let that chocolate seal completely dry. Then we're going to come back and we're going to dip and decorate our zombie Hello Kitty. All right, so we've given that chocolate seal a little bit of time to completely set. Now you also just want to clean off the end of your little lollipop stick there just to make sure that it's not got any chunks of that chocolate cake pop mix. And now we're going to dip and decorate. So you want to dip your cake pop. You want quite a deep container because you've got that extra stick protruding. Normally we'd only dip to about here, but we're going to dip about 1/3 of the way down the stick today. So just dipping into your melted green chocolate. Make sure that chocolate meets all the way over the seal and pulling it off. Now, you want to tap your excess chocolate off, and I like to tap it sort of holding it on this side and then flipping it to this side. That helps you retain your really nice Hello Kitty head shape, and it also helps that chocolate go down either side of that little stabbing skewer or the little stake that's through her head and really defines it nicely. Beautiful. Now don't worry if it's not too perfect of coat. This is after all zombie Hello Kitty. So while that chocolate's still wet, I'm going to take that half of an M&M or mini M&M and all the way down the bottom of the face, about 1/4 of the way from the bottom of the face. I'm just going to push that into the chocolate. And that's going to be our little Hello Kitty nose. Perfect. So now you want to let that coat completely dry before we come and do our final details. All right, so we're back from letting that cake pop completely set. Now I wanted to leave this crack here. I've found that with the ones that I've made, they do have a tendency to crack. And I'm sure that's because we're shoving the lollipop stick so far through and we're creating a little bit more pressure through that little ear shape. So if this happens, do not worry. Just use another lollipop stick or a piping bag or something like that and just kind of force a little bit of that green chocolate into the crack. So put more than what you need and come down a little bit past where it's cracked so that you're sort of covering off where it's going to continue. And then just use your finger and just run your finger over. So it sort of forces chocolate back into that crack, and particularly for these ones, they don't need to be very neat. We're actually going to spend a little bit of time now making them look less neat with a little bit of that black food colour paste. So what you want to do with your food colour paste is, I'm not even going to use the main body of the paste, I'm just going to use the lid, and I'm going to use this tissue. Now with the tissue, I'm just going to take just a little bit of the colour paste, I'm going to dab a bit of it off so that it's sort of making these sorts of marks here rather than the big heavy kind of marks, and I'm just going to dab it over our Hello Kitty's face. This is just going to kind of make her look, I guess, like she's just a bit dirty, a bit zombie-ish. It just makes her look less proper and green. We want her to look as kind of rugged as we can. So you can sort of swipe it down. If you need more food colour, just grab a little bit more. Once again, just test it out on that tissue. So you can see how we fixed that crack. You can't even tell that it was there. All right, once we've got her looking like that, you want to take your Q-tip now and keep your tissue handy because we're going to just dip the Q-tip into that black food colour paste. Once again, just get the bulk of the colour off there, and I'm just going to use this to create kind of like a black circle around where her eye's going to go. So you want the eyes to be quite low, so that I guess the bottom of the eye is about in line with the nose. And try not to make those eyes too dark because you do want to make sure that you can see the little blacks of her eyes. So like that one there I feel is a little bit too dark, so I'm just going to use the other side of my Q-tip just to wipe a little bit of it off. You really just want it to kind of be like a dark shadow around the eyes. Beautiful. All right, so once you've got her to that stage, we can take our black candy melt. Actually, no, we might do our red. We'll do our red candy melt first. Get rid of that tissue. Might get rid of that black food colour paste too because it will become quite messy. You just want to spoon a little bit of that red candy melt into your Ziploc bag. Push it all the way down to the corner. Make sure that you seal the bag. Let any air out. And we're going to cut just a, doesn't really matter the size, you don't want it to be too big and chunky, but I'm just going to cut just a little corner off the end of that Ziploc bag to create us a little piping bag. So you can see there as I squeeze it, it's just a nice sort of a thin little streak it's giving us, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. So we can get our little bow pieces ready and just give her her little bow. She might be a zombie, but she still knows how to dress up. So for the bow, I'm just going to pipe just a dot, and then into that dot, I'm just going to take those two love heart sprinkles and just sit them into that melted candy melt, which is going to hold them in place. And I like to just stand them up a little bit so they're a little bit three-dimensional looking. Beautiful. Now we'll leave those to dry. While those are drying, we're going to give her kind of the blood on her head where that stick is pierced through. So I just like to sort of a little bit haphazard, just give her some little bloody streaks. Beautiful. You can give that a couple of taps just to let that blood dribble down a little bit. Sounds so gruesome. And then I'm just going to come up just on that steak a bit. I don't want to cover up the whole steak. I want to leave sort of the top of it sticking out so people know what it is. But I just want to put a bit of red around the top. Beautiful. All right, so we're going to let that now completely dry, and then we're just going to paint on our black detailing. Pop her in my polystyrene block. We'll get our next Ziploc bag, which is some of that black candy melt ready. So once again, pushing it all the way down to the corner of the bag, letting any air out, sealing it up, and cutting off. You do want this one to be quite fine, a nice little fine tip. Perfect. All right, now you can take Kitty. I do normally wait for her to completely dry in between this, but I'm just going to hold her. If you wait for her to completely dry, you can actually lay her on the bench and it is a little bit steadier. Now you just want to give her her eyes. So just kind of like an ovally shape right in the center of that black shadow. And then you'll do her whiskers. One. There's her whiskers on one side. We'll repeat that on the other side. Perfect. So there you have your completed zombie Hello Kitty head on a stake. Perfect for Halloween, perfect for any spooky occasion, or just perfect if you're looking for something a little bit different from the Hello Kitty range. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. Do make sure that you check out the other cool spooky Halloween tutorials as well as our other Hello Kitty tutorials. And if you love this one, hit the subscribe button if you want to see lots more from us. We upload 3 times a week. Thanks very much for tuning in to My Cupcake Addiction.